The message stayed in her inbox for 4 days, not because it wasn't important, but because replying would mean choosing, and choosing would mean risk. So Alex did what thoughtful, responsible adults often do when something feels too big. She told herself, "I'll think about it." She didn't realize that those 4 words would quietly become one of the most expensive financial decisions of her life. Alex was 36, senior operations manager at a well-established consumer goods company. Stable income, predictable bonuses, health benefits, a retirement plan steadily growing in the background. She wasn't struggling. She had savings, almost a year of living expenses, no high-interest debt. She invested monthly in index funds. She believed in long-term wealth building. Her life made sense on paper. But she felt capped. Promotions came slowly. Raises were modest. The ceiling wasn't visible, but she could feel it. Then a former colleague reached out. A fast-growing international startup was expanding into new markets. They needed someone to lead strategy in a region Alex understood deeply. The offer? A 20% pay cut for the first year, but meaningful equity, real ownership. "Let me know if you'd like to explore it," the message ended. Alex reread it carefully. Pay cut, equity, uncertainty. She archived the email and told herself she'd think about it. The 20% reduction in salary felt louder than every other word. She calculated it precisely. Monthly income difference, impact on savings rate, impact on retirement projections. Her current trajectory was safe. If she stayed, she would likely continue earning predictable raises. Her investments would compound steadily. She could forecast the next 10 years with reasonable accuracy. The startup, however, offered volatility. It was 4 years old, rapid growth, ambitious projections, no guarantees. She opened a spreadsheet. Scenario A, stay. Steady income growth at 3 to 4% annually, consistent investing, low volatility, slow upward climb. Scenario B, leave. Lower income for 12 to 18 months, equity stake, uncertain valuation, potential upside if expansion succeeded. She ran models, conservative projections, moderate projections, optimistic projections. The optimistic scenario was transformative, but her mind kept returning to the downside case. What if the company fails? What if expansion doesn't work? What if I regret losing stability? She spoke to her family. "You've worked too hard to risk that security." She spoke to a friend. "Startups are unpredictable. It's glamorous until it's not." She spoke to herself. "You're not 25 anymore. You can't just experiment." But beneath all the logic was something quieter. Fear of temporary regression. Fear of explaining the pay cut. Fear of looking foolish if it didn't work. So she delayed. She replied, "This sounds interesting. I need some time to think about it." She scheduled an exploratory call, then postponed it. She reviewed the draft contract, then asked for more time. Meanwhile, the company moved forward. Expansion timelines don't pause for personal hesitation. Within a month, they hired someone else. Alex felt relief. Relief that she didn't have to choose. Relief that stability remained intact. She told herself it simply wasn't aligned. 16 months later, the startup secured major international partnerships. 2 years later, it completed a significant acquisition deal. The early equity holders, including the person who took the role Alex declined, experienced a financial outcome that would have equaled nearly 7 years of her current salary. She didn't hear about it from the news. She saw it on LinkedIn. A quiet announcement, a celebratory post. She opened her old spreadsheet, reran the numbers. The cost wasn't theoretical anymore. It was visible. And what unsettled her most wasn't the missed money. It was the realization that she had never truly evaluated the opportunity. She had evaluated her discomfort and chosen to avoid it. The real shift didn't happen when she calculated the lost equity. It happened when she recognized the pattern. She hadn't chosen safety with intention. She defaulted into it. By extending her decision timeline until the offer expired, she removed responsibility from herself. It wasn't, "I chose not to take it." It became, "The opportunity passed." But the truth was harder. Indecision made the decision. She kept her salary, she kept her benefits, she kept her predictability, and she kept her ceiling. That moment changed how she understood risk, because she realized something subtle. Avoiding action is still action. Here's the lesson. Indecision is a hidden financial decision. When you delay long enough, you default to the current trajectory, and the current trajectory is often designed for comfort, not exponential growth. Wealth psychology teaches us that humans overweight short-term loss and underweight long-term asymmetric gain. A temporary pay cut feels immediate. Equity upside feels abstract. So the brain chooses what it can measure today. But financial growth often requires tolerating measurable short-term discomfort for unmeasurable long-term opportunity. When you say, "I'll think about it," without setting a decision boundary, you are usually choosing preservation over expansion, and preservation rarely multiplies wealth. At Syrulon, we operate by a simple principle. If you do not decide your financial direction deliberately, inertia will decide it for you. Time compounds clarity. It also compounds hesitation. Intelligent wealth building requires structured decisiveness, not reckless leaps, not emotional reactions, but clear evaluation followed by committed action. You define your downside tolerance in advance. You protect your essentials. And when opportunity aligns with your long-term thesis, you move before comfort catches up. Because indecision does not protect capital, it protects familiarity. And familiarity has limits. Alex still works in a stable environment, but she makes decisions differently now. She sets a deadline when evaluating opportunities. She defines acceptable risk before emotion enters the conversation. She asks one additional question. If I do nothing, what does that compound into? Because that is the real comparison. Not risk versus safety, but intentional direction versus automatic continuation. Some financial losses are loud: debt, business failure, bad investments. But some losses are silent: opportunities postponed, equity unclaimed, growth deferred until it disappears. The most expensive choice is often the one that feels neutral. So, here's the question. Where in your financial life are you postponing a decision that is already deciding your future? And what might that delay be quietly costing you over the next 5 years? This is Sunday Stories with Syrulon.